Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel where your likes, comments, and subs are always greatly appreciated. Today I wanted to address a specific question when it comes to the ZOOM R20 Multitrack Recorder. I've seen this question pop up multiple times in the comment section of my videos. I've also seen it posted in different forms in Reddit, and I wanted to address the perceived limitations of the inputs and then the tracks that are going to be recorded from those inputs. So at least with version 1.0 of the firmware for the R20, it's a 16-track recorder, but you have 8 inputs. The first 2 inputs are combination inputs where you have XLRs and also quarter-inch jacks, and then inputs 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are just XLRs. Inputs 6, 7, and 8, they have phantom power, but inputs 3 and 4, those are just XLR jacks. So really, you're probably only plugging in dynamic mics on inputs 3 and 4. But the way that the 16-track recorder is arranged is that the input records straight to its track that's lined up to it underneath. So input 1 will record to track 1, or you can flip it and record it to track 9. Input 2 will record to track 2, or flip it and it'll record to track 10, and then so on and so forth, all the way to input 8, which will record to either track 8 or to track 16. So you do get 16 mono tracks to work with here. Some multi-trackers will say they're a 16-track multi-tracker, but you're stuck with only using like 4 of them have to be dedicated stereo tracks. That's not the case here for the R20. You do have the flexibility to make them all mono tracks. You can link these things together and make as many stereo tracks as you would like. But you can quickly see that you only have 2 of those combo inputs. So if you've got a guitar that you want to use the high Z input for, and you want to lay down 3 or 4 guitar tracks, you can already see like, well, you might think that you only can use track 1 or track 9 for guitar then, and quickly run into a limitation where you just have a rhythm guitar and a lead guitar. You're not going to be able to do anything extra with fills on any of the other tracks. Likewise, if you have different synthesizers, you might be using that as a stereo input, and you might think, well, I can only use one synthesizer that's using a left-right input to tracks 1 and 2, and then to the same thing again for tracks 9 and 10, and you're out. The rest of the time you need to have your XLR inputs and run those to its corresponding track. That's true when you are recording. So for simultaneous recording, you can only use these 8 inputs and record to these 8 tracks. Or you can flip it, instead of recording to tracks 1 through 8, you can record to tracks 9 through 16. But you're still stuck with only having those 2 combo jacks, and those things, I think, make a lot of people nervous. If you're recording by yourself and you're not really hooking up a whole bunch of instruments all at once, this is not a limitation. So I can easily, I've hooked this up and I've recorded 5 guitar tracks on top of each other, because you can just move the track over with the touchscreen. So I'm going to demonstrate that really quickly. Instead of using a guitar, I thought I would just use a P020 arcade pocket operator, just because it's easy for me to kind of manipulate here. But I have this set up, so I'm going to arm tracks 1 and 2 on the R20, and then I have this stereo cable running out to, which is a quarter or an 1/8 inch jack, running to 2 2/4 inch jacks here. So this way I'm running it in stereo onto tracks 1 and 2. I didn't link the tracks. I'm just recording it onto tracks 1 and 2 right now as 2 mono tracks. I can lay down what I have on the P020, and then I can simply move these things around so I could record another series of P020 tracks. So I'll go ahead, I've got that armed, I'll hit the record button. Okay, so now I have laid down my tracks on track 1 and 2 using inputs 1 and 2. You may think that, okay, I'm already out of inputs for anything that I want to record to tracks 1 through 8. I have to flip this to use 9 through 16 to be able to record this again with this setup. And that's really not the case. So with the touchscreen, this is really easy to manipulate. I'm going to zoom in to the screen so you could take a peek here. All you have to do is just move your track. So after you lay it down and record it, I'm going to unarm the track, but I can just grab track 2 by touching number 2 and then touch and drag it down to track 4. And I could do the same thing with track 1, touch it, and bring it down to track 3. I've now opened up tracks 1 and 2 so that I can go ahead and record again using the R20. So if I just go ahead, arm my tracks 1 and 2, I'm ready to go. I've got this back at the beginning. I can also just mute tracks 3 and 4 for a second here. I'm going to hit the record button. Okay, now I've laid down my tracks, and you can see where you can easily just expand on this and continue to lay down more and more tracks using your perceived limitation of inputs 1 and 2. And so when you play these back, you could play the whole thing back together. And it's a little bit off. Now you don't have a way to necessarily synchronize this if you are using different types of synths. I don't know of a way to really synchronize this right now, and I'm not really sure there's going to be one unless we run some kind of click track off of the headphones or the monitor outs back into something like the Pocket Operator to try to sync it. But that's not too much of a problem because you could also just go in here and easily edit and align up your essentially WAV files at this point in time. So you can align these things up, but you can quickly see why you can create stereo tracks with this. You can lay down your rhythm guitar track first. You can then lay down your solo track and just keep dragging them down. So after you lay down track 1 with your high Z input on the guitar, just bring it down to track 4. Do it again, bring it down to track 3. Do it again, bring it down to track 5. And you can just keep opening up tracks 1 and 2 so that you can always record using the combo jacks. If you're trying to simultaneously record and you want 8 combo jacks, that's where you run into a limitation. The R20 is not going to be able to handle that. You're going to need to come up with a mixing board and bring something else in using XLR inputs. But in terms of one person recording over and over again, don't sweat it. You don't have any limitation when it comes to which inputs are going to which track, because after you lay it down, just drag it over to the track that you want. It only takes 2 seconds and you're good to go. That's all I have for you with this short tutorial video on the R20. If you have any other comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section of this video, and I try to get to all of the questions as fast as I can. So thanks again for watching, and hope to see you again next time.